Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another Godzilla x Kong figure. Oh wait, no, we actually have two, because this time we have the Godzilla Evolved and Kong with Beast Glove. And these two figures are basically like the cheaper option. They're right around like 10 bucks each, I believe. So it's going to be probably like your bare bones Godzilla. And I would think same deal for the Kong, although the Kong actually does look pretty nice. And you can see that obviously both of these have been taken out of the package. Again, these are two figures that my son grabbed while I grabbed a bunch of others, and I just wanted to get these up on the channel and review them, but I also wanted to show you guys the box art, so I kind of just set them back in the boxes here so you can see that, even though they're already assembled and everything. But if you turn the boxes around here on the back of the boxes, you can see obviously for the Godzilla, we've got a Godzilla Evolved image. You can also see some information here. Same deal for the Kong, same type of thing with information. You can also see that we do have a heave included here as well. And then down at the bottom, basically like a little checklist of all of the other figures that are out currently in this wave of figures. And now my camera decides to focus. I didn't realize it wasn't focused correctly before. But again, there's quite a bit in this line. So far, I actually have not found these two sets. I definitely need to get a hold of those because I really want to not only, review them for you guys, but add them to my collection. And actually the Scar King as well. I did not see the smaller, or I should say the more basic version of the Scar King compared to the Battle Roar version we had reviewed. So stuff I'm going to be grabbing very soon. I'm actually going to be heading out to Target later today, so hopefully they'll be there then. But regardless, let's go ahead and pop these out of the boxes, and then you can actually see what is included with these figures this time around. So Godzilla actually comes with Atomic Breath, so that's pretty cool. It's the first time so far in this line that Godzilla has come with some Atomic Breath. And then Kong obviously has that interesting glove here. We'll get Kong standing. But as I mentioned earlier, we also have the Heave, the little ship that we've got going on here. And it's very interesting this time around. A little bit different than it was previously. So there are our two figures. I'm definitely excited to get a closer look at both, so let's jump to it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of Godzilla, I really don't think we need to go over the fine detail of this figure, because, I mean, a little bit, but not near as much as we've been recently, because it's definitely the same sculpt, now just reused and kind of repackaged a little bit, kind of revamped for this release. So you're not going to see really much of anything that's going to be different sculpt-wise, I would imagine, on this figure compared to the other Godzillas we've reviewed recently. You can see, though, that the eye paint is absolutely gigantic, like very obnoxiously gigantic. It doesn't look good at all. I think the teeth look okay on this, definitely better than some of the other Godzillas, definitely though a little sloppy on this side. We've got the tongue painted out there on the inside of the mouth, and unfortunately there's no articulated jaw or anything on this one. I kind of expected there to be, but I guess not. We do though have a slight, and I mean slight, amount of neck articulation. Like, it really does next to nothing. It looks like it should articulate, but apparently not. I think the detail here in the head and neck actually looks pretty decent, though. Like, it looks better than a lot of the other Godzillas have. But once you leave that area and head into the body, look at how muted that body detail is. Like, that's a crazy difference of quality between what we see here on the head and then down into here. And again, the head is more of a rubbery feel. This is a hard plastic, so it feels like every time we have the rubber sort of material, we get way better detail. But once we lead into the plastic, the detail is super muted and very low quality. Same deal for the arms. Again, the arms are kind of a flexible rubber, so you can see that the actual detailing looks really nice on the arms. We don't have paintwork here for this area though, which is I think the first time that we've seen that area without any type of paintwork. We do have painted nails. We also have that greenish tone running along the underside of the Godzilla. Let's see if it goes the entire way. Nope, just down to here, and then doesn't even transition away nicely. It's just very abruptly as far as the way it leaves us. We do have the pink translucent look up here on the back of Godzilla, like we've had quite a few times so far. That looks really cool. And you can also see that we have the pinkish paint here that transitions into that translucent look it looked horrible in my opinion on the giant Godzilla. This area here doesn't look too bad, but once you lead down here, the difference is pretty drastic. And there's this area here where it doesn't even transition, like it briefly leaves us completely. There's no pink at all, so also very ugly as far as that goes. Of course, the fine detail here in the spines does look pretty decent, just the transition moving down looks pretty bad. And the paintwork down here in the tail doesn't look that great either. It's a little inconsistent. You can see areas where the bluish tone is shining a lot more than it should be. Doesn't look bad again, but it doesn't look great either. I guess we can put it that way. As you lead down into the legs are a hard plastic, so the detail doesn't shine as nicely as it does in the rubbery areas, but it doesn't look terrible. It just could look a lot better. We do also have painted nails here for the feet, which is nice to see. As far as the articulation goes, you can see we can move the arms up. They can actually swivel pretty much all the way around. They'd have a weird clicking effect though, but they do move pretty nicely. As far as the arms on this figure go, the legs, this leg goes up about that high, go down about that far, that leg's about that high, and then down about that far. We do have ankle articulation, a swivel there as well, and then of course the tail can go left and right a little bit, and up and down. That's about as much mobility as you're going to get. It can also swivel, and it is again that rubbery material, so it's a little flexible. So this Godzilla is pretty lackluster. I mean, he's not great, but I guess for like the $10 price range, it's not terrible. And then the atomic breath is sculpted pretty decently. It's a translucent pink, just like we see for the spines of Godzilla. So that's at least pretty cool, I guess. And I have yet to actually see it in the mouth of Godzilla, so I'm intrigued to see that. But that looks okay. And then as far as the Kong goes, we have not taken a look at any Kongs so far. And I will say, I think the detail of Kong actually looks pretty awesome. The skin texture as well as the fur detail does have a really nice high quality look to it. I feel like this would be a fun figure actually to repaint. He's got a very mean look on his face. The eyes are painted pretty decently. Again, they're not amazing, but they're more proportionate to what they should be compared to what we see on Godzilla. Godzilla's eyes are huge. We can also see the teeth are sculpted out pretty nicely. They also look, I think, better. The upper jaw looks better than Godzilla's teeth. The lower jaw is pretty much the same as far as what we see on Godzilla. But you can see like the pink there running along the gum line and the inside of the mouth. It all looks pretty good overall. Not terrible by any means. Also has a little bit of a satin shine there on the inside of the mouth. Again, leading up, you've got the ears and the very nice fur detail of Kong. Looks really good, really vibrant. Has a little bit of a shine for some reason up there, but it doesn't look bad by any means. We also have neck articulation, which is basically just a swivel. So you could swivel it completely upside down and snap his spine if you choose to. But I think the head looks really good. I would have actually enjoyed seeing maybe some jaw articulation, but I don't know how they would have done that really. And I don't believe they had that on any of the Kong figures from the previous film. As you move down into the chest, you can see we've got all of those scars here on the chest of Kong. You can also see the muscle definition is very nicely sculpted. And if you get nice and close, you can see even the skin texture looks quite nice. So overall, I feel like Kong is way higher quality than Godzilla so far. As you lead out into the arm, you can see the fur detail continues to look nice. You can also see that we do have that interesting glove here on the hand, arm of Kong. You can see that is also nicely painted. We have the numbers painted out on it, and even these areas you can see have like the silverish tone and stuff, and then of course the yellow for the glove itself. And then as you lead down here, you can see the straps and everything are sculpted out, but they are just the same color as Kong is. And the hand is also nicely sculpted as you lead down, so very well done. You can see we do have very nice articulation on Kong as well. The arm can actually go up pretty high when it comes out away from the body, and it can of course go forward and back as well. So lots of really, really nice mobility in the arm of Kong, and he has elbow articulation, which is really smooth, and that can also swivel. So very, very nice when it comes to the articulation aspect of Kong compared to pretty much any other figure that we've seen so far. Same deal as far as how nice the fine detail looks moving down to this arm that doesn't contain the glove, and then as you lead down you can see the hand is very nicely sculpted. We do have a little bit of a difference in color as we have kind of like a slightly lighter tone for the skin texture of Kong that you see in the face and in the chest. You can see that there on the hand as well. And then as you continue to lead down through the course of the body, of course, we've got our nice little legs here for Kong. You can see the fur detail looks pretty decent as you move down. And again, the feet also look nice. We have, again, that lighter tone, that kind of like a grayish sort of tone for the feet of Kong. And we also have articulation in the legs, forward and back. I don't think they can come out now. They don't come out away from the body. But then you also have knee articulation as well. So overall, I would say Kong is actually, let's see if he has waist articulation. Almost looked like it right there. But I would say Kong might be the best figure that we've seen in this lineup so far when it comes to quality. He is a really nicely done figure. He's also quite heavy. Like, he has a very solid, heavy feel to him. And then we have the heave here, and you can see, and I assume I'm saying that correctly. I can't even recall if that's how you say it, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, heave. And it's sculpted pretty decently, not a whole lot when it comes to fine detail. It also sports a nice silverish tone, but nothing too spectacular as far as this goes. Just a pretty cool extra, again, a pretty cool addition to this very interesting and very cool Kong figure. As far as a size, for a height on Kong, you are looking at about 5 3/4 inches, or around 14.5, maybe about 15 actually, centimeters. For a length on Godzilla, from the tail to the snout, about 11 inches or 28 centimeters. And then for a height, I would say about 6 1/4 inches or 16 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to these figures here. And you can see they're pretty decently sized. They're not small or anything. I would say fairly nicely sized overall. They're pretty much the size you would expect them to be if you are familiar with the previous Godzilla versus Kong figures. And to show you that, now my son is actually the one who is responsible for hooking me up with these comparisons, because when I told him I was going to review these figures, he was like, okay, let me grab them for you, let me get everything you need, and he brought me all these comparisons. Well, not a ton, but like exactly the comparisons you would want to use. So here is the Godzilla versus Kong Godzilla previously from this type of size range, going face to face with the new evolved version. You can see the evolved version is ever so slightly taller, but they are generally about the same size overall. And you can also see the atomic breath down there as well for each of these figures. I will say I think they look pretty similar when it comes to the overall quality, but I feel like the previously released Godzilla vs. Kong figures looked a little bit better. Like, just the transition from the translucent look of the spines of that Godzilla down into the actual paint looks a lot better than what you see on the newer one. They don't look too far off, but definitely a little better on the older one. But for another comparison, here is an older version of Kong next to the newer version of Kong, and you can see they are pretty much the same size, but I will say that the newer version, in my opinion, does look quite a bit nicer than the older version overall when it comes to the sculpt, detailing, and just how vibrant everything looks, as well as just in general, like the accuracy department. I feel like the newer one definitely looks a bit nicer than the older one. And then for a comparison that I did not know I needed, but my son wanted me to have anyway, he hooked me up with some of the previous heaves from the line next to the newest one to give you an idea of how they size up next to each other as well. And then for just two more comparisons, we have the evolving Godzilla, the Titan Evolution version here next to these figures to give you an idea of a size if you happen to have that one. And then we've also got the Battle Roar Godzilla for one final comparison to show you that that Godzilla is definitely a little bit larger than these other figures. So this brand new Godzilla X Kong, evolved Godzilla and Kong, of course, from Playmates are pretty okay. Specifically, the Kong I actually really like. I think the Kong is overall a great figure. It's very nicely sculpted, very nicely painted, doesn't seem to have any sort of laziness like you see on the Godzilla where the green doesn't run the entire way through the underside. You don't see any of that sort of thing going on with Kong. Everything seems to be very nicely painted out on the figure. You can also see even like the numbers and everything and letters on the glove are also nicely painted and applied. So overall, I feel like when it comes to the paintwork aspect, the Kong figure is really well done. Godzilla is a little bit different because the eye paint is really ugly. The paint on the teeth is a bit too intense, a bit too sloppy. The transition from the translucent spines down to the painted spines looks a little bit ugly, not really that great. It's not as obvious or ugly as it was on the giant Godzilla, but still not great here. And then, of course, the lack of the green running the entire way on the underside is a bit of a downside. The nails are painted pretty nicely, though, so that's a plus at least. I guess we've got one area. But the fact that those kind of ridges on the elbow also aren't painted on the Godzilla is another little area of a downside. The articulation on the Godzilla is okay, but the fact that they decided not to include jaw articulation is a little bit baffling. I don't know why they wouldn't have done that. And it's a little bit limited when it comes to the movement in certain areas, like the legs and stuff, but it's not bad by any means. That is at least okay. The Kong has extremely nice articulation, though. He can articulate pretty much all over the place. The only thing he's really missing would have been jaw articulation. And then, of course, you also have the additions of the Atomic Breath and the Heave, which are very cool. Definitely nice to have included in this set. So overall, one figure is really nice. The other figure, I would say, is just okay. But if you are interested in picking up either of them, or both of them, make sure you head to your local Walmart or Target. I believe they're beginning to show up at Walmarts. They should already be out at Target, though. So one way or another, if you are interested, make sure you grab them and also like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.